Hi, I'm Richard Spenceley, the CEO of Triple0 Medical Recruitment, and I'm here today with our guest, Ben Wakeling. Ben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yep. So my name is Dr. Wakeling. I am a graduate from the UK. I spent the first 2 years of my career working in my foundation program up in Edinburgh throughout the COVID side of things, and then decided to move a bit closer to home and did a kind of F3, PGY3, depending on where you're from, down back in Bath. Did a bit of locoming following that, and then it was kind of a long-term aspiration to seek some new experiences, go abroad and move to New Zealand. And yeah, I haven't looked back since then.
Nice. So when did New Zealand first come on your radar? And I guess secondly to that, why did it come on your radar as an option?
So I did a graduate degree in medicine. So after my undergrad, I did a bit of traveling afterwards, came to New Zealand and just had an amazing time. So I think at that stage, it was kind of when you had such fond memories of a place, you kind of always think, oh, what if it's like to actually live there? So I think when I graduated, I think that the first instance of or possibility of moving out here to experience something different and experience a place that I've enjoyed was always on the cards. So yeah, so just from that previous experience, I was like, I'm going to get out there at some point. It was just a matter of when and how at that stage. So
What memories stand out to you from that OE visit over here?
um, quite a few things. I basically, it was kind of a whirlwind tour. So we flew into Auckland and did the Kiwi Experience bus, which I
Oh, yeah.
think for many Brits is kind of a rite of passage if you're traveling in New Zealand. So I think it was just the combination of the people I was with at the time, but more the fact that it's like Scotland on steroids. And having spent 2 years in Scotland, was trying to experience some of the wilderness, which was a bit hampered by the whole COVID side of things. It was kind of a dream to get back out there and experience all the different activities that I did at the time, but also you go around in a whirlwind of 3 weeks being a minimum time period to see a lot of things, but you see all the scenery and you're like, oh, it'd be great if we could do that hike. And you then do some searching, you find the kind of great walk side of things. And I think it was definitely a highlight, which is doing with activities, but then also seeing the things that I missed out on and wanting to come back and do them. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 weeks isn't a long enough period, is it, really, to cover everything that New Zealand's got? Did
Yeah.
you do the infamous bungee jump down in Queenstown?
No, I didn't. I've got that weird kind of mindset where I was happy to do a skydive in Queenstown, but for me, bungeeing was just never on the cards.
Step
So
too far.
yeah, I'm quite happy to someone to strap themselves to my back and just kind of like take me down out of a plane, but bungee jump, no, not for me.
Not there. We'll see if we can get you there before you go. So we obviously connected back in September of last year, and that's where the conversation started. You're now here in your ED registrar role. Can you talk me through how you found the 6 months and working through the processes involved to get you here?
Yeah, so I think at the start of the process, it was just both me, myself, and my partner figured out that we wanted to take that step now, and it was just a matter of trying to figure out how we did that. So it was a matter of kind of Googling and asking friends for who they used, and we came across yourselves. And the process it's a bit long-winded, but I think given that you're essentially emigrating halfway across the world, it's understandable. I think at the time, without any kind of guidance, it can feel quite overwhelming. But with your team and the way you approached it was just broken down step by step, and you're given a checklist of this is what you need to do, and these are the people you need to contact. This is the information you need to gather. So actually, when you've got your own kind of life going on and different aspects that kind of draw your attention and time to it, it was quite nice to have regular prompts of this is what you kind of need to do now. Can we have this done by this time? And yeah, if it didn't feel like a chore at any point, it could feel a bit more like, oh, I've got waiting on this person to do that or this person to get that certificate. But yeah, it's just nice that we've got through it all, and now and you kind of I was just having such a good experience in New Zealand now that you can just makes all that kind of effort and time feel worth it. So I don't know. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there anything around, because obviously part of the process is first of all getting interviews and then getting the job.
Yeah.
Was there anything that stood out to you in that process in terms of how the interaction went with the hospital, the kind of interview questions that were put out?
So I didn't actually have an interview with the hospital,
Oh,
which was
wow.
which was an
Well played.
interesting. Yeah. So we had interviews for everything back home, and then I think I had an interview with your own team. I think that was just to kind of put a face to the information that I'd sent out, the inquiry I sent out. I think they just kind of, there are many hospitals. So the hospital I'm in is in Hawke's Bay. I'd not heard of it before I kind of looked for jobs. And I think about 70% of the medical workforce here is from the UK. They do struggle to recruit because it's just a bit more out the way. But I think it was more a matter of if you've got a certain degree of experience, a certain right character, which I think your team has more of a screening process for.
Yeah.
They're happy to get anyone that would want to come. And when you've not heard of the area or the hospital before, it's a bit daunting to be like, oh, let's just kind of go out on a whim and take a chance. But actually, it's a beautiful place, and we've not regretted it at all. So
That's
if that
quite
helps.
brave, though, isn't it? It's brave of you to still take that leap of faith to go to an area that you don't know much about. Doesn't sound like it was on your 3 week visit, yet you've still done it. So I guess where did you find the motivation or inspiration to take that leap?
Um, I think we were just quite keen just to get out into New
Yeah.
Zealand. A combination of what's going on back at home, both with the healthcare system and politically. It was a matter of, it felt to a degree like we were trying to just escape that kind of chaotic storm. But at the same time, like we felt that we liked the culture and the attitude that New Zealand people have. It also helps that they're kind of rugby obsessed and everyone speaks the same language and there's like a bakery in every corner. So for us, it was all a matter of there can't be any, like the community that you go to can't be any worse than what we've experienced back in the UK. And it just take the attitude of actually, if we just experience it, see what it's like. If we don't like it, then there's always the option to seek other options in the country as well. But bravery never really crossed the mind. It was more just a matter of you don't know what you've got until you try it out, and if it doesn't work out, that it's not the end of the world. Um, yeah, yeah, that's about it really.
Good mindset.
Yeah.
And talk to me about the experience in the hospital. What similarities are there to working back in the UK, and then what differences have you found?
Um, Similarities, that there are quite a few. I guess this is a bit more of a isolated experience because it's a very much a rural hospital. I think our major tertiary centre will be Wellington or Auckland, and they're a couple of hours via transport and helicopter, or an hour via plane. But similarities are all just kind of the similar setup. You've got a lot of UK consultants and in every kind of specialty. So the way you approach things is very similar. Treatment plans are very similar, just because it's all based on universal kind of evidence-based medicine. There's that normal kind of hierarchy, but actually, from my experience in the emergency department, it's a very similar attitude to what I've experienced back home, where everyone just pitches in. ED seems to attract people that are very kind of outgoing. You obviously have the odd character, but everyone's very friendly, and everyone just kind of pitches in to make sure that we do the best for whoever we experience. Um, Obviously, you have the challenging public side of things. You always have characters that come in that are regular attenders. But I guess the main differences I've experienced so far is, I guess, not working in the NHS, everything seems to be funded. So, as we mentioned, the process of moving or emigrating here, everything is funded except for the flights. So at the time, it seems quite an expensive process to do visas and police checks and New Zealand's medical certificates and the application for that. But I didn't actually realize at the time. I then arrived and they were like, oh, yeah, you could actually apply for the funding to, well, get all that money back if you want. I'm like, oh, okay, that's quite nice. And then you talk about other aspects of it all and the way the healthcare system works, where again, a big difference here is they pay for lunches. I think I pay at most $4 a day for parking, which is about £2. You get all your exams paid for, you get your training paid for, your license for each year is paid for. So you don't actually have to fork out financially just to do your job. And they go out of your way to make sure that you upskill as well. So it always feels like a bit of an ask, but if you kind of see there's a program that you want to do or a training course, like in Australia, or even I've heard of a friend of a friend who went back to the UK to do a course, they'll pay for you to do it, and they'll pay for your transport costs, and they'll pay for your accommodation, because I think they value the experience that we have and the service that we can offer if they can retain everyone here. So yeah, big differences just seem to be, I don't know, I think the main word I would use is the value. You just feel a lot more valued and a lot more supported in that sense.
Yeah, probably two words you don't often hear within public health systems: feeling valued and supported.
Yeah,
So I'm pleased to hear that.
yeah.
And talk to us about life outside of the hospital. How are you enjoying New Zealand when you do get some free time?
Yeah, so again, I think in emergency medicine, it's a bit universal where the hours aren't ideal. There's a lot of antisocial aspects to it, but I think when you do get time off, then you make the most of it. So actually, my start date was delayed by a month just to help give us some time to settle in. So it was outside of the hospital. It's been quite nice to do some exploring, and I think we had quite a jam-packed kind of 2 weeks of seeing the North Island, and I think we did some like white water rafting and mountain biking and hiking and surfing, and we've done everything. So I think at this stage it's just we're just looking at different clubs to join and trying to do some more social things with our colleagues at work and just trying to build a bit of a community. So I think that kind of then creates a bit more of an attachment to an area, and you kind of feel more settled and more at home when you've got kind of a people to, I don't know, experience things with and do things with, I guess.
And you've still
Yeah.
got the ski season to look forward to.
Yeah, I've heard about this. I think it sounds like I have to go into the South Island a bit more for
Quite right.
that. But in the meantime, we've got the beach like 10 minutes drive away from. So yeah, it's been good. And we've just been, I think even last night I was out on a social with our department. We have these things called like journal clubs, and normally at home they always seem to be quite formal, kind of purely academic side of things, whereas the way they approached it here was they hired the room above the bar, which was a 5 minute walk from work. It was classified as work time, so people who were on shift at the time got to leave a bit early to go to it. And from the start, it was everyone had a beer in hand, and you talked through some papers, and then afterwards we went into the town and had a couple more drinks, and I think the cocktails then came out. So I was like, well, for the recruitment side of things, if you took photos of everyone who was supposed to be still on the shop floor, but we're actually in a bar with a beer in hand and reading through some journals on a casual basis, I think that would be quite good to get more people to come over.
Yeah, well, dare I say you guys thoroughly deserve it as well. Um, I think I probably know the answer to this, but reflecting back, if you could have your time again, would you still come to New Zealand to work or do something else?
No, I absolutely would. Yeah, I've no regrets whatsoever making this move. I'm so glad the fact that actually it turned out to be exactly what I wanted it to be and more. If I had my time again, I would probably apply for a job straight after I finished my commitments in foundation back at home. So that would have been a year and a half before now. But yeah, I think no regrets whatsoever. And if anything, I think the initial approach was we were going to stay for a year, so we're on the 1 to 2 year working holiday visa. I think within a week of being here, they then sent us an email saying you can extend that to 3 years if you want. And I haven't come across anyone from the UK that I'm working with at the moment, who most people have come out here with an eye of staying here for a year, who said they're going to go back off at that point at the year mark. They're all saying we're going to extend, stay here for a year and a half, 2 years. There's a number of people saying they're going to train here now, so no regrets whatsoever.
Pleased to hear it. New Zealand does that to you. I think I came there for 2 years and I'm 17 years in now and still loving it. Look, Ben, thanks for sharing your insights and your experience. I hope it inspires others to step out of their comfort zone and follow your lead. We really appreciate it.